Welcome to I Heart Geek.
And welcome to another episode of I Heart Geek. First off, I'm wearing the beanie, which means wintertime is coming. I'm happier now. We don't have 100 million degrees here in Vegas. It's like 60, and so we're all frostbitten. Yeah, shut up, New York people. We know it's cold over there. So, first up, let me introduce my co-host, Satomi.
Hello. Let me send it right back to my co-host, Dub.
Woo! And then, well, because you guys see what I see, the guy right below me is a long-lost fan favorite. We have Tyler. How are you doing, bud?
Fan favorite. That's might be a bit much, Dub.
People like
I'll
you.
take it.
People like you. And gosh darn
I try.
You're good enough. You're smart enough. Oh, sorry. I'm going to old Saturday Night Live host, so let's go back to Satomi and introduce your little friend there, Satomi.
Oh my. You're asking for a smacking. No, you guys, this is super cool that we were able to get her on the show. So our guest today, our fourth guest, our extra special guest, is a former international bond trader for a global investment bank turned physical therapist, and she is in private practice in New York City. She's the co-host of the highly acclaimed podcast, Tough to Treat, a physiotherapist's guide to managing those complex patients. She's also written a book called Why Do I Hurt? Discover the surprising connections that cause physical pain and what to do about them. That was released in October of 2018. She has been featured in Forbes, BBC, Women's Day, Better Homes and Garden, Muscle and Fitness, Hers, and Health Magazine. She is also my own personal voodoo PT priestess. I am so thrilled to introduce you all to Erica Meloe.
Woo! With that
We're gonna learn something today.
With that kind of intro, you better deliver, Erica. I'm just saying. Wow. That was amazing.
Satomi, it's actually Mellow. Believe it or not, but that's okay.
Oh my God. And I've known you for how many years?
No, I know everybody. No, but it's not spelled phonetically. And it's so funny. We were talking on the air before. My dad was born in Norway. And when he came to this country, they added an E onto the end of his name, and no one pronounced. So I'm just for the audience.
Honestly, if it were spelled without the E, I would have said Mellow.
Exactly. So the immigration here in lovely New York City put an E on the end of it when he came over to this country. So
they didn't call you Smith.
You are Erica Meloe. This is how it's going. No, that's Swedish. Sorry, never mind.
I'm still hearing the Norseman show.
Yes,
great show ever. Okay, so let's get into what we're talking about today. We're talking about this is like the kryptonite for all geeks for some reason. We're talking health and fitness. How do we get it? Well, let's be honest. We have the stereotype. I'm gonna go get me some ding dongs and Doritos and Code Red, Mountain Dew. It's our stereotype. Something I want to fight against. Let's be honest, that is our geek stereotype.
No, my you know what? My geek friends were always wings and beer.
All the same.
And yes, yeah.
Incredibly unhealthy. Wow, I'm now sounding like comic guy from
I was gonna say.
That made me a little sad. I'm such a stereotype. Oh. I'm sad.
You're living it. You're living it.
So
but you don't have to.
No,
my
you don't.
fellow geeks.
Okay, so let's give kind of why we're on the show today. I'm going to start with me. I am a massage therapist. I have been for about 20 years. I've dealt with just about every kind of physical problem you can deal with. No joke. I've worked with chiropractors. I've worked with physical therapists. I've been independent. So I have a lot I can offer as far as muscle strength and muscle fitness. Satomi, tell us about you.
Well, I am actually something a lot of people don't know about me. I'm a certified MELT method instructor, a level 2 MELT method instructor, which is suddenly words escape me. It's a modality. It's a self-treatment modality that helps with muscle timing, that helps with aches and pains, and just general balance and calming the nervous system. I am also, I think what actually puts me a little more right for this particular panel today is that I am a connoisseur of the injury.
That's interesting. I kind of like that.
Okay.
It's what got me into all of this in the first place and how I met Erica. But
okay, I'm gonna wait for a second on Erica. Tyler, why are you here other than you're like buff and we're all jealous of you on the show?
Well,
seriously, look at this guy. He's like freaking Viking, like 4 foot tall Viking. It's amazing.
Hey, I've been a bit off track, man. I've actually lost weight. So, for more than a decade or so since my oldest was born, I've been just headfirst into the hobby of fitness and wellness, and it's just I'm very YouTube and Google certified. But there's
it's a thing.
Yeah. I got a badge on the wall. But it's just been my thing that I geek out of. Dub knows this very well. He's been a part of conversations, maybe even unwillingly.
Yep.
And it's just, it's my thing. And
it's your
I've got a few people that, I let's say train and advise, within my personal circle, and they've done well. So that's kind of reinforced my love for it. And here we are.
And I got to say, Tyler's like our best model for I Heart Geek shirts. I mean, it's like, yes, if you listen to I Heart Geek, you can look like this.
It's a nice shirt. Very comfortable.
Thank you. Okay, Erica, tell us about you.
Well, in addition to that lovely intro that Satomi did, I had so many injuries over the years. And I think to this day, I think as I've gotten older, I've just gotten more and more injured. And, the typical physical therapist, we never take care of ourselves. We're so used to taking care of other people. And ironically, when I was in New York, when I was a bond trader, I had a lot of injuries because I sat all day, and then as I started my career and moving and standing up more during the day, I started to get more injuries. And so people always say, oh, it's a very, Wall Street and physical therapy and medicine, they're so different. I'm like, they really aren't, because you problem solve. We all problem solve in our careers, right? And I think for me, that's why the transition was easier to make from sitting and trading fixed income bonds all day long to standing and working with patients one-on-one under a significant time constraint, with patients. And early on in my career, it was almost high volume. And now I'm lucky in the sense that I don't work in a place that sees a bazillion people a day, right? So I can see patients in terms of like on my own time and really work with them, because I see a lot of more of the complex type of orthopedic patients. It's more orthopedics for those who are listening, more back pain, neck pain, knee pain, that type of thing, mostly musculoskeletal injuries. And, I tend to see the ones who are like who haven't gotten better. And we get the story, oh, I've been to 5 therapists. What are you going to do for me that they haven't done? And I get asked that a lot.
I have an answer for that, but we'll talk about that.
No, you go ahead. Tell me. You tell me.
No, I get that question a lot.
Yeah.
I started my career, the massage therapists and chiropractors in town that didn't know what to do with somebody else would send them to me. I just had a magic touch, I guess. But here's the deal. And this is as far as a massage therapist, if you get one from me, I'm telling you this. If you come to me, I don't care how you feel when you're on the table. I don't care that you're relaxed. I don't care that you're listening to music. I'll put on Metallica. I don't care. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to hurt. But when you get off the table, I will work the muscle to the point that you can move again. And there is something I've learned as far as, getting better physically, it has to hurt to get better.
See, now I'm going to disagree with you there.
Okay.
And I will say where my journey with that actually started with Erica, because as a professional actress, and I was working on Broadway when my first major injury happened, and I wasn't getting better. And I went to Erica, and I had already been working with another physical therapist who was really lovely, but we just weren't making progress. And the stuff that Erica did on me was so subtle and didn't hurt. And then I got off her table and I was out of pain for the first time in 9 months. And this ties into actually melt method for me it's one that a lot of people are not familiar with, but one of the main tenets of it is that you're not going for the pain. If it hurts, instead of digging into the pain, you sidle up to the pain. you go next to where it hurts, and that's where you work. And then as you
Oh, I can agree
continue
with that. Yeah.
to work, because what you're doing is you're a lot of us deal with dehydrated tissue because
yeah.
we're often sedentary. We, as a culture, do not hydrate enough. Our eating habits are not good enough.
They're
and
garbage,
so
let's be honest.
yeah, well, some are better than others, but so what you're doing is you are rehydrating the tissue, and then you are once it gets to that point where it can relax, because you've got your layers, your bone layer, your muscle layer, your fascial layer. Your fascial layer, if somebody goes straight in, and I'm sure you
Oh,
don't do
absolutely.
this as a
Yeah,
massage
no.
therapist, but if somebody goes straight in, your fascial layer will lock down
Mm-hmm.
and will not let anything else in. So if you can relax that, then you can get deeper and get into the muscle, and then get to the places that yes, that will hurt.
And for
Yeah.
people that don't know, I apologize, I'm gonna be interjecting a lot. Fascial tissue, basically, it's like and this is how I always look at it, it's like the saran wrap that covers your muscles, and it gets bunched up, and once you get that relaxed and over the muscle like it's supposed to be, then it's easier for the muscle to relax, and so on and so forth. You guys might have different definitions, but that's how I always.
No, that's what I was
going to
think. I was thinking that was a really smart way to put it. Now,
go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to ask Erica a question.
Okay, go for it.
Because you talked about how patients come to you and say, "What are you going to do for me that nobody else has done before?" And you specialize in complex cases, like I was. So I'm going to say you go ahead and dive in if you like, or I can ask you a specific question, but I think you're going to hit it anyway.
Yeah, I think, I get taken aback by that question, a lot, because some people can be quite antagonistic, to be honest. But I think it's just put simply, it's like a lot of people look at the body in isolation. Like if someone has knee pain, for example, and they'll look at the knee in isolation.
Yeah.
And what I do, and what I enjoy doing, to be honest, or I wouldn't still be doing it, is looking at the relationships of the regions of the body to each other. So like how your old foot injury could be contributing to your low back pain. And it's really like a true whole body approach. So for example, I'll give you a quick example. I had a young guy some years ago. He's actually at college now. He's going to be turning pro. He's a golfer. He had chronic right knee pain. So many therapists, so many trainers, and they working the knee, and he wasn't getting any better. And he's like, Erica, my knee hurts when I hit the ball. And I'm like, okay, can you show me how you hit the ball? And the father was there, and the father's like, no one ever looked at him. No one ever looked at him swinging the ball. And I was just appalled at that, number one, because that was his meaningful task, so to speak, his meaningful movement. Anyway, he's 12 years old at the time. Not a huge injury history, but I will interject and say your injury history and your movement history sets you up. Okay, your first injury sets you up, and your movement history keeps you there. So this kid had 2 concussions, but he got hit by a golf ball twice. Like 4, I know, imagine, right? 4 years prior. So I actually looked at him in standing, and we ended up putting him on the force plates over at Chelsea Piers here in New York City with his golf coach, and he literally was standing on his right leg. So when you see somebody who has chronic right knee pain and they're loading their symptomatic side, that has implications for loading strategies, as Tyler would probably know as well. So at the end of the day, it was not about treating his knee, because every time he hit the ball, he couldn't get the weight shift, so he torqued the knee just to get that weight shift over. Golfers. He's a right-handed golfer, so I worked on strategies getting him off his right leg. So I actually didn't really touch his knee, and so I think that's the beauty. That's the long answer to your question, Satomi. It's like, look at the past history. Does their story match what their narrative or what they're telling you?
No, and this is again what I love about the physical stuff is you are playing Sherlock all the time. You are trying to see the things that nobody else is seeing, and that's really how I approach. Now, Tyler, like someone comes to you, I got a bad knee, I want to start working out. How would you approach that or help him build a system for that?
I mean, a lot of what she just mentioned, goes to like reinforcing bad movement patterns and figuring out what kind of bad movement patterns you've been reinforcing for a long time, and undoing that would kind of be part of the goal there, at least for me. And of course, I'm glad you were here because I feel like I'm going to learn some real valuable stuff from you too. Because everybody can learn from everybody. So, but
Do you oh,
yeah, if you have issues that say somebody who stands and when you see them standing, their feet tend to roll out. That's not exactly optimal. And if somehow we could start correcting that with ankle mobility work and stuff, like you start to see a difference up the chain. When your feet are firmly planted now, because we've worked on ankle mobility and maybe it wasn't due to an injury, it's just you've had this movement pattern that slowly got worse and worse and you've reinforced it. And if we can somehow, aim to undo that, you see right up the chain where like the knee, the hip, all these things kind of start to, you know, come in line. And like all of a sudden your low back pain that on the right side starts to lessen. And, because you're not shifting your weight one way or another, you're
Mhm.
just planted. And, that's kind of how I would start to look at it.
do you
As-
And
feel
then as
like
far as strengthening, sorry,
oh, go ahead.
um,
No, go
yeah,
ahead.
I know Dub said something about, training that, building that up. Um, it wouldn't, it, we would have to address that, but in strengthening that particular area, like you mentioned, the knee, it's going to be pretty, meticulous. It's going to be just, a lot of lower body work, but I want to make sure you're supporting your upper body too. So, your mid back, all that, if you tend to hunch over and whatnot while you're, let's say, in a squat, you're gonna have a weird kind of movement pattern. You're gonna put a lot of force in your low back, and it's not gonna be optimal. And that can further reinforce
Mhm.
other injuries that you may have. Um, it's always individual, case by case. You got to really kind of look. I've been messing with my wife in the garage. We have a garage gym, and every time she does something, she hates it. I nitpick. I'm like, look, see that right there? You're pushing off with your right leg a lot harder. Let's try and just slow it down, take the weight off the bar, and focus. And that's kind of how it would go. It'd be real light at the beginning, and you know, just kind of build up to that and practice that movement over and over and over. And as far as having like a severe injury, um, Erica, you'd be much more versed in that. I haven't had to address that myself, just personally, because
Mhm.
we all get injured because we try to push it because we think we know it all, and
Sure.
and so like as far as that, I would definitely proceed with caution myself. Um, but yeah, just finding those bad movement patterns that you've been reinforcing all your life and trying to work towards mobility and correct that would be more my focus at the beginning, rather
I would
than
also,
building
oh, sorry,
strength.
Tyler. I would also say like dominant movement patterns, right? Because,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, one of my mentors said recently, we bring all of our compensations to our life events. And I thought about that and I was like, oh, she's right. If I've been living on my right leg for so long, because I do for some reason, I have had many injuries. I have a very long, I do a timeline when I see patients, and I literally have, my personal timeline is very long with injuries. But you
Mhm.
look at the patterning of injuries, and there becomes a dominant pattern. And for somebody like my little golfer, he was only 12 at the time, but he was loading his right leg for probably a long time, and that's the dominant movement pattern, right? And I think at the beginning of treatment, we all, I always sort of give the patient, and Satomi knows this well, about we're trying to down train, we're training your brain, we're trying to down train
Yeah.
your dominant movement pattern and up train better, I don't want to say better, more optimal patterns. We're trying to create new brain maps,
Mhm.
and that will sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? It'll sort of drive how we focus treatment, and what do we do at the beginning? Do we jump into like, trying to think, Satomi, do we jump into a single leg squat for someone who has hip pain? That would be a no-go for me.
Yeah,
Heavy
right.
load, a heavy
Yeah.
load on a hip, right? And so, but ultimately, I think the beauty of it is that a lot of people who had persistent issues, 9 times out of 10, their symptomatic region is not their driver. I think
Mhm.
Yeah.
almost 10 times out of 10, right? Wouldn't you guys
And so
agree?
for
Yeah.
just for our listeners, so when we're talking about things like dominant movement pattern and driver, so a dominant movement pattern is going to be whatever, when you're not thinking about it and things get like, you either get stressed or anything, the unconscious way that your body will move or will load,
Mhm.
that's your dominant movement pattern. Like somebody who always stands with, I have a dear friend who always stands with her right hip jutted out because she had babies and that's how she carried them, but she continued to do so without thinking about it. That's like a dominant movement pattern. And then a driver is what is actually causing the misalignment that then can affect all the way up and down the chain of the body.
Exactly.
And Tyler, I find that in the fitness realm, there's almost an overabundance of because of the and I wanted to ask you if you felt this as well, that there is the mentality of no pain, no gain. So there's this push through and push through.
Mhm.
And then if you're not paying attention to form, and some
Uh-huh.
people even overcorrect, that's
Yep.
my problem. I correct real hard. I'm going to do it 110%. And then that gets me into trouble. But then you're reinforcing that movement pattern.
Right.
So how do you offset that so that you ensure that you're staying healthy, that you're
That's
keeping your
good.
body in an optimal position?
Well, I mean, there is like a mental game there too. You have to,
Mhm.
because people will convince themselves, no, I saw all the YouTube videos. What I'm doing is good. Like they said arch your back when you do like a bent over row, but they're sticking their butt way out and their back's really arched. It's like no, no, no. It's just that you might have a slight curvature, if not keep a neutral spine.
Mhm.
Like but from a side view, it almost looks like you're arched just because of the way your butt's built and this and that. But your spine is actually very neutral. And I'm actually kind of dealing with some of that myself. For the longest time, just subconsciously, I go to press and I was rolling my shoulder. Very common thing you see, rolling my shoulder into the press because I'm dominant on my right side. But for whatever reason, I just had this unconscious thing. And I thought, oh, I'm getting stronger, I'm getting stronger. But then I noticed an imbalance in muscular
Hmm.
development. And I noticed that when I stood in the mirror and I just relaxed, my right shoulder was actually rolled forward a little bit. Like it was reinforced that hard. And I've been coming back and I'm like, well, why is that? Because when you kind of want to pin your shoulders back and down a bit when you're like on a bench press, we'll use that example. And I had a bit of a weakness there. I had a weakness in my mid back that really needed to be addressed, and I needed to focus and just take the weight off the bar and start really focusing on how I'm contracting things to support myself during this movement instead of just getting on it and like doing that, let's
Hmm.
go, and I
So
injured my
you would
shoulder.
do you would do reps without any weight, just focusing on form?
Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely, because you have to movement is also a skill, a lot of these movements you do it like in a gym or in a fitness routine, they're complex, and
Hmm.
it's a skill to do it properly with great form. So, like, you have to make sure that, okay, I'm really doing something wrong, there's gotta be a reason, and kinda try and figure that out. Why is that? Like you said, playing Sherlock Holmes. And, I figured I had a bit of a weakness in my mid back, and I did some real work on that, and I noticed my rear delts weren't getting any love at all, and, I found some things to work on, and now when I lay down and I start putting weight on the bar, I can go ahead and everything's taking video and whatnot. Everything is very symmetric, I kinda dialed it all in, and
Oh,
now
you
that
videotape
movement
yourself?
pattern. Yeah, what's that?
You videotape yourself?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Absolutely. I use
He loves
that to get
himself that much.
side.
Great
I
idea.
I send I send them to Dub all the time,
Because
sometimes
I'm
around midnight,
critical
it's
and
real
I'll do
creepy.
that, you know?
But no, to get more feedback, I wanna see it from the side, I wanna see it from the front, I wanna see where I'm holding the bar at an angle, that kind of thing, and it tells a lot, because I can't see it, and so that's the benefit of having somebody that you can work with who can watch you do like you said, you wanted to see him swing the ball, that makes perfect sense, have somebody on the outside who knows what they're looking at, view
Yeah.
that. But
Mhm.
yeah, generally there's a weakness somewhere, and it's going
Hmm.
to create it's going to reinforce a weird dominance in a movement pattern. And mine was, rolling my shoulder forward, caused me injuries, this and that. Now I'm feeling a lot better, because I kind of fixed that. I addressed some weaknesses I had, and stabilization and whatnot.
Mhm.
And that's a lot of times stabilization is the big thing, you know.
Yeah. So let me take what you said, and I want to actually take it back a step, because this is something I used to teach when I taught massage therapy. And this is something everyone that's listening can do. Do it with a friend. Go to a mall. Go to someplace that a lot of people are walking around. Sit down. Watch people walk. Watch how do they move. Do they move? Do they move one arm more than the other? Okay, so what's going to cause this? Do they cross the center line when they walk? There's about a million things. You know, they're hunching down. Are they looking up? There's a million things could be going on. And once you learn to look at that, especially you do it with a friend, and you guys kind of get through. Okay, well, this is what this person is doing. Then watch each other walk. Okay, so what's the problem here? And that's just a really easy starting way I found to get people starting to think about their health and what are they, because yes, everything you said was right, Tyler, but this is just one step back from that, just to make it's a really easy to use your eyes. And everything should be learning with physical stuff. Everything is learning constantly. You're physically learning, you're mentally learning constantly. I don't care how long you've been doing this.
You learn new things about yourself, and you may not like some of them.
Ooh, that's more often than not.
Now, Dub, I've got a question for you, because I know quite a few people who are uncomfortable going to a massage therapist because they're afraid of being in pain. What sort of advice would you give someone who's going to be coming in to lay on your table for a successful massage?
First off, go to a person you're comfortable with. Not everyone should go to me. You know, that's not, you know, I mean, if you're more comfortable with a man or a woman or whatever, you're more comfortable with pay attention to the way that somebody touches you when you come in. If you're not comfortable with that touch, don't go to them. That's not the right person for you. It's just, and it's because it's not creepy. It's you're not judging anybody, but you have to feel comfortable with that person's touch. That's what's most important. Talk to the person. You know, as I say, a lot of massage therapists have very different philosophy. Some are like, you know, I just want you feeling relaxed and at peace and energy work and this and that. Nothing wrong with that. That's not what I do. I do more what's the word we came up with? Physical therapy type massage therapy, which means that I'm working muscles. I'm trying to fix an injury, whatever it is, and get you in a more healthy place. Not saying either one is right or wrong. You know, if you get a massage from somebody and they go too deep and they won't listen to you, don't go back, because they're never going to get better.
But it is important to communicate with
you have to be able to talk. If you're afraid to talk to that person, you're going to the wrong person.
Even in the middle of the session.
Always.
Yeah.
Me personally, I say I don't do the candles and all that stuff, because that's
not your style.
Most of my clients right now were watching TV or whatever, because I like them to have something to put their mind on. And again, this is people that have been going to me for years at this point. So you've got to be comfortable with who you're going to as a person. I think that's probably one of the most important things. And I say, if you can't tell me I'm going too hard, don't go to me. Yeah. You know, go to somebody that you're comfortable saying it to, or someone's not deep enough. Breathing? You know, whatever. Yeah. Breathing. Okay, so breathing. You know, that's one of the big ones. If they're not telling you to breathe through stuff for like when they're working up a muscle, you're probably going to the wrong person, period. You've got to keep getting air in and out. Otherwise, your muscles aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. So then,
instead of from the perspective of the massage therapist, if I were from the perspective of the client, so let's say I've chosen someone that I trust, that I'm cool with, right? And I mean, sometimes we don't really have a choice. You make an appointment and they're just going to give you whoever there is. So what am I going to do I can tell you what I do, but just as a massage therapist, I want your perspective.
Okay, so if someone's coming
in, to make this successful.
So if someone's coming into me, I want you to tell me what your goals are day one. So I want to stop hurting, or, you know, I just can't sleep, or I get headaches. I want you to tell me from moment one. That's the only way you're going to have successful. If you're like, okay, just do whatever, it's not going to be a good fit for anybody, because the therapist is just going to pull their hair out because, okay, so what do you want me to do? Unless it's one of those, just get everywhere. I mean, and those are great. Some people do those. I'm not one of those guys. Does that make sense?
Yes. And then let's say you're in the middle of, okay, well, you know what I'm going to do instead of trying to pull it out of you. Yeah. So when I go and get work done, what I find is, first of all, yes, communication is really important. And also making sure that you are comfortable on the table. If you're not comfortable on the table, don't be afraid of asking for a pillow under your feet, because my knees get really squished. If the face rest is in a bad place,
Yep.
be rude. It's okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Have
Yeah.
that moved. Have that moved. They tend to ask if you want deep pressure, light pressure, medium. You can change your mind in
At
the
any
middle
point,
at any
yes.
point. If there are parts of your body that don't respond well to massage, you can tell them to be very careful around those parts. And if it's too much, speak up,
Mhm.
because sometimes, you know, a massage can, not that it can do more harm than good, but you can end up tighter walking out if your body locks against the pressure. And then finally, when you're in a comfortable place and they're doing work that might be a little bit uncomfortable, but it feels safe, then
Breathe. Okay, that's what you're
breathe
trying to get.
and
Yes.
relax into it. Breathe and relax into it. And if it still hurts, say something. But that's how that's how I feel that I will get the best results from
And-
going and feel safest going into a massage.
And because we're on just the strictly massage issue on this one, clothing, that's a hot topic for a lot of people. And I tell people this: dress down as comfortable as you are. At the point you're not comfortable anymore, leave that on and I'll work around it.
With the understanding that massage therapists are trained in draping.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you feel like they drape you and you feel like they can see something, they're doing it wrong. They're either new or they just don't care. And I'm being very serious on that.
This level of comfort is important due to just getting you to fully relax.
Exactly.
If you're tense about anything, your body's going to show it, right? I imagine. I mean, and you know, more on the aspect of like you have pain somewhere and you're going to a massage therapist to kind of help alleviate that. I mean, generally, pain is like, if you have a big ball in the middle of your back, your body's probably trying to protect something because you got injured or what have you. So everything's tensed up. And
that's when you got
the more you're comfortable, the face stays
investigation
in the perfect spot. You know, you're breathing, which hopefully you have somebody who's instructing you properly to breathe through things, and the more you relax, the more benefit you're going to get from the whole session. You know, because everything's not as tense anymore, and Doug can do his magic.
And you'll hear all the way in, all the way out. You'll hear that from me a million times in a massage. Okay, so let's jump off massage for a second. I want to hit this for a second. We all want to get healthy. I mean, everybody that's listening, they want to get healthy. I guarantee, no matter what your fitness level is. Where do you think is the best place to start? And let's start with Erica. I'm very curious on this. Where is the best place to start? And we're going to go all over on this, but
well, it depends. So, I mean, I'm a huge believer in prevention, as I'm sure we all are. And I don't think a lot of people know, how they move or what they look like when they move. And I do believe that, I'll just use an example. I'm actually in the process of doing my dissertation, and I'm looking at the menopause market, and I'm looking at women who are pre and post menopause and movement. And there's been a lot of recommendations out there for women in this age group getting healthier. So you need to do resistance training and HIIT training, which I think is excellent recommendation. But a lot of these women don't know how to exercise, don't know what getting healthy is. And so I think that for me, and I'm always going to push the physical therapy field for this, is just see a physical therapist for one session. Let them analyze how you move. I mean, the pandemic for me, I didn't see patients. I went back to work in person in June of 2020. So prior to that, from March to June, I was all online. And I became a better therapist for it because I watched people move. I took shots. I was having a field day. I was just doing it on my Apple. And so people when you show a picture, like, to Tyler's point earlier, when you see how you move, your awareness factor triples, and your brain will, theoretically retrain you to move properly with the right guidance. So in terms of health, I do think that if you're starting a new exercise program, or if you're starting something new, just have see a physical therapist, and just have them analyze your movement patterns, and then they can make recommendations. That would be my advice. And I know that's not the norm for what people do at all. I know that's not.
It should be.
It should
should
be.
be. I agree.
One session. That one session.
Yeah.
That's all I
Well,
ask.
just like what we were talking about with watching people walk and having someone watch you walk. That is so important. Like, okay, so we want to get buff or whatever. Okay, well, what do we need to fix before we can do that? What's the other side stuff we need to do first? So yeah, that is so key, and I'm glad you said that, because most people don't think of that as that's step one. It's the mental before you ever get to the physical.
Yeah, because if you're not aware of how you're moving, you're just going to put your headset on the gym and you're going to move around. And, the mirror factor is huge. I have a mirror in my office. I think working out in front of mirrors is so important because, when appropriate, if you have it, because you can absolutely see how you're moving in the mirror, and I think to Tyler's point earlier as well, you can correct that. I mean, humans, we're very versatile, right? So tell me, we can easily correct our movement pattern when we're made aware of it. And so, who wants to be injured? So when you're injured, you become depressed and you don't eat right and you end up not moving, and the mental health issue alone is tough, right? So
I also think that, having that physical therapist there, having that third set of trained eyes, because again, like I was saying earlier, I'm an overcorrector. I'm going to get my listen, I am Japanese and German. If you don't think
you're engineered correctly.
Oh my! But then I was born in America, so that sort of screws all of that. But so having that other set of eyes to make sure that the corrections are actually correct, and then I actually would suggest doing at least one follow-up to make sure that you've continued to do it correctly. Away from the physical therapist. I mean, because I from my experience working with Erica, it's like magic. It's like, that's why I call her my voodoo PT priestess and have recommended her to so many people, because it was literally like I was blind and now I can see.
Nice.
I was out of my show by the time I started with her, I was out of the show for 7 months for an injury that was supposed to take 6 weeks to heal, and then within 2 months I was back on full duty in my show. So and I forget like what ankle I tore my tendon on sometimes because of that kind of work.
That's
so
awesome.
I back you 100% on that, Erica.
So Tyler, what about you? What do you think is first?
Well, what we need you to do is to go on muscleandfitness.com and drop about $1,000 on supplements and get a 1-year
all
membership.
All the creatine.
And I can list 10 YouTube influencers you need to follow, and golden. Go hard or go home.
And in all seriousness.
No, I mean, and that's the mindset people have, though. That's what drives me nuts. It's like I thought about doing something, because I know I'm in an office all day and I go home and I play games, or I sit on the couch and watch movies, and so I know I'm very inactive. Most people in America really are. And everybody thinks it's like, okay, well, now I got to do this and I got to buy the right gym gear and it's like, no, there's subtle changes you can make. And if you realize and you're thinking, I need to do a little something for myself, and hopefully it takes on a life of its own as you build on these little steps. The little steps turn into big steps. You could just start subtly. Like, I always recommend people, you need to get sun. So, I mean, get outside and get some sun. This isn't, you don't have to be a beach person who spends 6 hours in the sun every day or whatnot. But if you can get, 15, 30 minutes of sun every day, that means you got up and you went outside.
Unless you're very Irish like me.
And so that kind of produces a new habit of like, now you're going outside. What's going to happen with that? That could take on a life of its own. And if it doesn't, cool, whatever. You go for a walk after dinner every day or after lunch. That was something better than nothing. And then it's just making dietary changes that are very simple. Like, just focusing on one thing, like eat more protein. If you end up focusing on eating more protein, hopefully from like an actual food source. Generally you're not going to be eating some other crap that you probably were eating. It's instead of taking away, you just added something, but in turn it kind of altered your eating habit. And these little steps can build on each other, and it's just we just got to do a little better than we are right now, especially if you're doing nothing. Something's got to work.
Something is better than nothing.
And then if you're finding that it's benefiting you, hopefully you saw the positivity there, and you're like, that's kind of motivating. Cool. What's next? What else can I do?
You got beat yesterday.
And now, okay, sure. Go buy a kettlebell. Go buy, a 20-pound kettlebell or a 10-pound kettlebell. And there's so much you can do with that. And you can do it at home, in your living room. 30 minutes a day for 3 days a week. That's nothing crazy. I think a lot of people can manage that. You could even go less if you want. You're still doing something better than what you were before. And it's just finding little things that you wouldn't mind giving a shot and just being consistent for a little while. And if just kind of really keep a lookout and see if you notice, okay, now before I started this, what was I doing? And see the contrast there and just build off of that. We're not asking for much when we ask people to be healthier now. We just ask you to figure out that generally your habits aren't optimal and you can probably make some changes here.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
cool.
I want to throw out mine real quick. This is, first off, have a plan, write it down. Second part, diet. You've got to figure out what you got to eat. Now, I'm not telling you to cut out soda. I'm telling you to have a less soda a day. I'm still not at the point that soda's gone. I'm getting there. And this is my ultimate don't put on social media, I'm on a diet, I'm losing weight, blah, blah. Now, my close friends know that I have lost a lot of weight. If you're not, I don't put on online because you're already getting all the endorphins and all, hey, great job, blah, blah. You're getting all the pats on the back you need. You don't need that adrenaline kick anymore. So don't put it online until you are where you want to be. Yeah. Anything to add on that one, Satomi?
Well, everybody has really great points. I am definitely a proponent of whole foods as much as possible. America, our food stream, we allow in an insane amount of additives in our food that is not even food, and that is illegal in most places around the world. What we put into our food, so you can make but it makes it delicious. I'm just kidding.
No,
but there's
we found our target.
There's amazing deliciousness that does not have all of those things in it. Just bringing mindfulness to that. But more than anything, nobody has the single answer for you. You're going to try a few things out. You're going to see what starts working, and when it works, then you're going to stick with it, and you're going to then expand on it. If you try to force yourself into somebody else's cure, you will stop. So we are all unique snowflakes in the world. So find what makes your snowflake the most beautiful.
Yeah, don't melt. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, okay.
But it's a thing.
I know we're all in kind of the alternative health field here, and to some degree or the other. So
Erica less so, but yes.
But this is a serious question I have, and this is going to a regular doctor. I think you need to. I don't think that's the be all end all. I don't like big pharma, yada yada yada. That's not the show we're doing today. But how do you draw the line? And me personally, when I started to get before I started to get healthy, I went to a doctor and had a full blood work, everything. I wanted to see everything that was going on with me. I don't want to be on a bunch of drugs, but I wanted to see what is wrong. So, but where is that line for you guys as far as, more alternative health versus the Western medicine without going too far into that weeds?
I mean, for me, it's you pull from all. If you've got a team of experts, then you're going to pull from those team of experts, and you're going to now. There are such thing as cray-cray people out there who have nothing to add to it. So for me, I have had acupuncture. I've had Chinese medicine. I've had physical therapy. I've had Reiki. I've had, I've done the nutritionist thing. I've done the Western and I've done the Eastern. You pull Ayurvedic. You've got all of these medical traditions that literally have thousands of years backing it up. There are
Yeah.
things that have stayed. They've left behind. Drink the wee of the donkey to make you stare.
Yeah, we know.
We've moved past that, right? We have
hope.
science that backs up a lot of what used to be considered alternative medicine that actually does work. So, it takes a village.
It's all
It takes a
balance.
village. It's all balance. Yeah.
Yeah, but
And
also,
your mental therapist too.
yeah, no,
Mental
for
health.
Yeah, but I was also going to say is that I think, a lot of patients of mine, they'll come in with like full blood work, full MRI, full this, full that. And, and I'll take a quick look and I always tell them in a very loving way is that I'm treating the person, not the piece of paper. And these are images or blood work, that is, a point in time. And with blood work, I'm looking for an inflammatory marker. It's not something I look at often, to be honest, with patients. Patients tend to ask me, should I get an MRI? Should I do this? Should I do that? And I'll give them advice. I think it is overused in this country for sure, because there's a lot of what appears on paper that's not relevant at all to what the person is coming in to see you for. And we have direct access in New York, and I think most states do, which means that although consumers don't even know it, we can see a patient without a doctor's referral in New York. I believe it's for a month or 10 visits, whichever comes sooner. I have to look up into that. But most people don't know that we have that, and most states do, actually. And so they don't necessarily need to see a primary care before they come, or even an orthopedist before they see me. But I will be honest that if there's something that is a huge red flag, that I'm referring them out ASAP. And I had some years ago, I will never forget this. This girl came in, she had chronic back pain, chronic leg pain. Literally, I think it was 2 days of onset. She had not been to the bathroom at all in 24 hours. I was like, you need to go to the emergency room, like right now.
Right now.
And she had a huge spinal tumor, pressing down.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so, and that, but that was something when you see patients like that, you will never forget that as long as you live. And I see more of the chronic persistent ones now, but, I would hope that our profession at this point, and with the differential diagnosis that we have, that we can pretty much do a quick review of systems of somebody and determine if they're viable for physical therapy. And for the most part, the patients that I see are, because it's been such a chronic problem.
Yeah. And let me just add one little tag to the end of this. We have all the choice in the world in America for what we want to do as far as alternative healthcare, whatever. Just because it's the easiest, or it seems like, they got the answer, does not necessarily mean it's the answer. Don't go for the easiest path. In particular, this is a good life lesson for everybody. Research, and even if that truth hurts, you've got to follow that truth. Okay. That was kind of a bummer to end on, but I apologize. But Erica, tell us one more time how to get to your podcast and all that other stuff.
Oh, fantastic. So it's Tough to Treat, and we're on wherever you listen to podcasts. It's very clinical, but a lot of my patients do listen to it. So I have a wonderful co-host, and we talk about patient cases every week, every other week. We tend to vary. And my website is ericameloe.com.
And your book is?
Why Do I Hurt? Discover the surprising connections that cause physical pain and what to do about them.
So tell me, you got anything going on?
Yeah, actually, I'm heading out on tour, y'all. I'm going out on tour, just in a couple of weeks. Yeah. So I will be touring the Midwest. It is a subscription-based concert series. So tickets, unfortunately, are not publicly available. But I know. And then, my film Fast Track program is still making the festival rounds. We're doing another festival in Texas coming up. And yeah. Yeah, there's more, but I can't talk about all of it. But yeah, it was just on
That's
set
typical
last
for
week,
Satomi.
so,
Yeah.
yeah. We're making it happen, y'all. We're making it happen.
So Tyler, your OnlyFans is going good and all that.
Great. Absolutely. I did not realize my feet were that pretty. But, here we are.
Oh, that's you. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
We all have pictures. We know. So check out the website, www.iheartgeekshow.com. Use the com. We paid
extra for it.
Yeah, one of these days that's going to die. It's not. Go to the Facebook, the Twitter, all Twix, I guess. The X. I like to call it Twix because everyone knows. Anyway, we're there or something, and we're on other stuff, I think.
All the
talk
socials.
to us. We do talk back. And until next time, I'm Dub. I'm here with Satomi. We're here with Tyler. We're here with Erica. Keep on geeking on, guys.
You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. Make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.